Hey guys, sorry about cutting that video short. I'm still getting used to this camera. It's my first time doing it, so I apologize. What I was talking about before was trance, and one of the most useful trances was Steiner's because early on in the game, you trance with Steiner. He could do massive amounts of damage even at low levels, which I always thought was great against bosses. And then you had Vivi and Aiko who do their double magic abilities. It was all right if you could actually get it to work, and Freya's was actually not bad either. But Freya's was only good if you're leveled up high enough, which really doesn't happen until late in the game where she does the jump ability and then she just shoots her spear a few times during the battle. You have to be at a high level to really be able to pull that off correctly, but I think Trance could have been a lot better. Honestly, it could have been a lot better than what it was, but whatever. So let's go on and talk about the story. The story of 9 really was my personal favorite because the story, it wasn't like in 7 or 8 or even the later entries like past 9 where certain times you have to go look up a wikia about really what's going on throughout the plot. The plot was easy enough to understand, and I thought it was actually very well done because from the beginning to the end, how it just builds up until everyone knows the big reveal that happens in 9. Obviously, Zidane really being manufactured just like the black mages were for the purpose of causing chaos on Gaia to be turned into Terra, which I actually thought was very well done. But my main problem with the story was that there's a lot of things that happen pre-game that's not included. You can go on any of the Wikipedias or Wikias and look at there's a lot of things that happen pre-game that aren't actually in the game, which I thought was actually a shame because it was actually really interesting. And including it would have been awesome because it would just make the plot that much better. Also, we really didn't get to see enough of Terra. We don't hear about Terra until about I think uh, the last third of the game, I would say. And when you actually go there, you're not there for really that long. I wish they kind of did it sort of like the older games did, where you have a different world map, kind of like how 4 did. 4 had the overworld, it had the underworld, and then it had the moon. I thought that was pretty cool, and I wish that they kind of did that with 9, where it was like, well, you have the world map of Gaia, but then you travel to Terra, and that's another world map. I thought that if it was done like that, it would have been a lot cooler, especially for the exploration and the side quest part. But I really liked the plot because it was very coherent. It wasn't hard to really understand. And I especially like the sort of like, okay, unlike the previous games where you only had 1 or 2 main characters, the main characters in this game were 3. You had Vivi, you had Zidane, and then you had Garnet, which whom the story was really focused around. And what I thought was kind of a shame is that we didn't get to see enough backstory for guys like Steiner and Amaranth. Like we really didn't get to hear that much about them. They started doing that with Freya in the beginning of the game with Fratley, but once Clara was done, they never went back to that again, which I thought it was a shame because I actually liked the way they did that. Which brings me into my next topic, which is the presentation. Now, a lot of people didn't like the game because of the obvious art style, which was more cartoony, more fantasy-like. I personally had no problem with that because I thought that the art was very beautiful. It was very bright. The colors seemed to really fit. You know, yeah, it was a little more cartoony with the different species of actually people in the game. Like you had like mole people, you had fish people, and it kind of reminded me of like a cartoon, like a Morning cartoon show, which I thought was actually very creative because it was a break from the futuristic sci-fi realism that 7 and 8 were, which I really liked. The medieval setting I always thought was the perfect setting for any JRPG personally, which will segue me to my next point, which was the music. The music for the game was beautifully done, I thought. Um, Everybody knows that it was the work of Uematsu, who, honestly, I think he's amazing at what he does. He really is. From what I heard, he put half effort into this game music-wise because he was getting burned out from obviously doing 7 and 8 so close to each other. But even at half effort, you still pulled off probably, in my mind, one of the best soundtracks of the series. Honestly. It is my favorite. I love it. Because I've always had the I've always sort of had the I've always sort of had the thought that you don't really need voice acting in a JRPG only if the written dialogue and the music convey what the message that is trying to make. That's why I don't need voice acting in a game. I really don't. Quite honestly, a lot of people they like it better. That's their opinion. As long as it conveys the mood and the message correctly, I think that's absolutely brilliant. So let's go into side quests now because I thought that the side quests in this game were actually very important. The side quests in this game, well, number one, you had Chocobo Hot and Cold, which I thought was probably one of the best side quests in the series. Chocobo Hot and Cold was more or less a reference and a nod to Seven's breeding system for chocobos, which I personally just thought was tedious. I didn't like it as much because of the amount of time that you had to put into doing it, like the racing, the breeding, getting the stats up, and hopefully getting the chocobo that you want. In this, it's completely dependent about chocographs. You go to a chocobo forest and you dig up chocographs, which in this game shows you a picture of where a treasure is, and the treasures that were part of Chocobo Hot and Cold was very worth it to get. It was the best equipment that you could possibly get in the game. You can get pretty much almost all of the treasures pretty much on the third disc, with the exception of a few. And it was very worthwhile to do it because of the obvious rewards. Now, I thought the card game was fun, right? Because that was obviously because it's 8's card game. But I just felt that it really lacked really any type of rewards. 8 got it right by making you turn the cards into items, which was very useful. But in this, the only reward you get for the card game, besides collecting them, is storyline driven. You do the card tournament on this. I think the the third disc, and you get a rebirth ring, which teaches you auto life, which I thought was really the only good reward for doing that side quest. I don't play cards that much. I collect them, but I don't play them that much. You also have the Moogle mail delivery. Pretty much in this game, the save points were Moogles, right? And then between each Moogle, you could deliver letters between them, and you could read the letters, which some of them were very funny. I thought that was actually very, very, very good. The overall reward for doing the whole thing is a protect ring. It's not bad. I think it could have been better. But I'm not really complaining because I actually thought it was actually very cutesy the way they did it, like to see the dialogue between each of the different moguls. I actually like that. You had the frog catching, which was basically Kina goes to accuse Marsh, catches a certain number of frogs, and for each number of frogs you get an item. And I think by the time you finish it, you get to have a boss fight with Quail and get his ultimate weapon. Which the problem with the frog side quest is the spawn rate, because It takes hours to really get a Q's March full with new frogs, which was kind of a pain in the ass if you wanted to try to max out his frog drop ability. Um, the items were worth it, especially beginning of the game. Like you get the Silk Robe, I think, at the beginning, which teaches you the ability up, which makes you learn abilities much faster. Let's see. You also have the side quest I just found out about, which was the Mole Family side quest, where you go to Memoria, the final dungeon of the game, and after each event, you go back to Lindblum and you see a different Mole family member, and eventually, as you go back and forth and talk to all of them, you get another Protect Ring. A lot of this actually wasn't found out till actually pretty recently. I never knew about it until it got found out. I didn't know you could do that, but it's a side quest, so it really wasn't that bad. Let's see. Trying to think about what to go into next. Well, I guess this is my conclusion because basically have covered all my bases. It's my favorite of the series. It's a shame that after that the games sort of went in their own directions. It's nostalgia since you grew up with it. I wish the games were more like that. With Sakaguchi and Uematsu even. I thought that was a big shame because the newer games aren't bad, but they really lack the spark that older ones have. I hope that maybe one day it can go back to that type of style and become popular like it was. But yeah, at this point I'm just rambling. Thanks for listening to my review, guys. Sorry it was in two parts. I'm not used to using this camera. I'm gonna start doing my reviews do this because it's easier than just typing everything out. It's a pain in the ass to try to type on a phone like this, a full length review. So until next time, guys, I'll be talking to you.